to be here with the author of Walking with My Angels, a true story by Keith Leon S. And Keith, welcome to the book club with us today.
Hello, hello. Happy holidays, everyone.
You too.
Hello.
You as well.
Hi. Coming up on a new year. I can't believe this year was interesting, but fast.
Yeah. The whole time thing was very weird this entire year. Sometimes it felt like it was going forever, and then other times it was like a week had gone by and I didn't even know where it had gone.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally.
And you put you in there too. Not want you in there.
There we go. I'm getting
Welcome, Linda and Terry. Thank you for coming in. For those of you who haven't met Terry Gilstad, she's there with Linda. Everybody say hi.
Hi, Terry.
Hello.
Hi.
So we have a good group here, and I don't know how many of us have finished the book. I finished the book and absolutely loved it, Keith. What an amazing book, an amazing story, and way to share the beautiful angels with the world. So thank you for writing this book, first of all.
Yeah,
you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, now you know everything about me, literally.
Oh, right?
All my stuff, like, is a vulnerable piece of work for sure.
But I'm only like halfway through it. I was reading it with someone else, and every time I read it to her, she'd fall asleep. That was Erica. I started yelling at her because, I said, you're not paying attention. You're falling asleep. I'm not reading to you no more. she got mad at me. She's here now.
She was receiving everything she's supposed to receive.
Oh no. But it's so ironic how so many things in that book related to me in my life. And it's like, oh my God, because I already died and passed over and been on the other side and came back. And I had so many near-death experiences, I can't even count them all, So it's so ironic that you tell about, and I know the angels are with me, but I haven't been talking to them or whatever, but it's just so ironic that I'm like, oh my God, and my story would put this to that this is nothing compared to my story. It's like, oh my God, if I could write a book, forget about it. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, I had the motorcycle where I was doing 100 and hit a hole, and the tire blew out with somebody on the back, and it never even went down. I've been electrocuted twice with 220 volts running through me, where people had to push me off and everything. Crazy stuff. And if the angels weren't looking out for me, forget about it. I mean, just last week, somebody rear-ended me. The car was totaled. My car looks like nothing was around me. It was like the angels were there protecting me.
They were protecting me. Don't listen to him.
I told Charlie they just keep throwing them back.
They don't want
that.
He went to the ER. Me and Chris were fine.
But anyway, the book is great. No, and I'm only halfway through it. But anyway.
Okay. I had a pretty cool experience. I told everybody, I think everybody knows my experience. I'm listening to it on Audible, but I decided I wanted to buy the book because I wanted to look through it and answer the questions and stuff. So I was pulling up to my front door and I was at a really good part of the story and I did not want to stop listening to the story. But I had to go in the house. I couldn't sit in the driveway. and my book was delivered. So I went in, opened the book to the exact same spot that I left off when I was listening in my car. The angels listened. They said, okay, you don't want to stop here. We'll open it to, it was page 126.
That's great.
Guys, I just want to say a quick hello and goodbye. I love you all. I'm off to get my COVID shot.
All right.
Bye,
We're thinking
Erica.
about
Erica.
Have
Good luck.
fun.
Good luck.
Yes.
All right.
Love you.
Love you too. I miss you.
Love you.
Too.
Yeah.
You know,
Sorry, Keith. We love on each other quite a bit in this group.
That's what we do.
That's great.
I was telling Terry this morning, to be honest with you, I haven't finished it. I was reading about Tamar and his, the last, I think it's the last chapter. And I really hated to stop to come to the club because it was so exciting. But I have been through every emotion, I think, in the world with you through this book. I mean, there's been times when I've been angry at you. I felt your pain. I felt your joy. It's just been an emotional roller coaster. But what really surprised me is the number of times I got angry or resentful at you. I'm not like that now, but I have to say that there were times when I felt that way, which I don't know if anybody else had that reaction. I think it's because I was jealous of all the wonderful experiences you had, and then you made some pretty bad choices. And so, you know what I mean? He had all these angels with him and things that I would love, to experience. And so anyway, I just thought I'd be honest with you and tell you that. And that I appreciate you sharing all that with us. And it sure taught me a lot about myself. And, and the reason that I should not be judgmental, that I should love without trying to fit people in a box or say, well, they shouldn't have done that because they had that, So it's been a beautiful experience for me, and I thank you for it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, one of the promises was that anybody who held it in their hands would be raised to their next level of vibration. So whatever that is means something different for everyone else. So for you, it was, bringing up things and ways where there's possible room for improvement. Would that be the word you would use? Right? Because it's like everybody is doing the best that they can with what they have, and
right.
And I think that's the piece that Jesus was talking about over and over and over and over and over and over and over again about loving everyone without condition, and he really was kind of the master of meeting people where they are, and I've kind of received that feedback my whole life. It seems like you're right with me, or you've experienced what I've experienced through, or whatever they put. Like my father, I found out once we got back together. He said he always was the chameleon. He could talk to the homeless person. He could talk to somebody who was filthy rich. He could talk to anybody, and he'd just be right with them. And he said, "You got that from me." He said,
you do. You just can talk to anybody. I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, I wanted to thank you for that because it did help me a lot, heal me a lot, and
great.
And I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. All right. Anybody left with any questions or ones that came up along the way? I know that some people from the bullet points on the back thought it was going to be a, self-help book, maybe have questions after each chapter or something. But really it was when I crossed over, out of a novel and talked to you personally, that was what I felt was that piece, asking you questions along the way. And those who wanted that experience could grab a notebook and start journaling about it. So any questions left for anybody?
I kind of want to piggyback a little bit on Jean's. I actually had just kind of the opposite reaction, where I was relieved that someone else who had angels in their lives made as many mistakes as I did.
Thank you. There is hope for me after all. Yeah.
So, but I was glad to see that side of it, that, I think sometimes we elevate people up into this made up version of someone. And I just wanted to ask you, as someone who has also experienced angels with them quite often through their life, I sometimes get a little bit mired down with sometimes when I just don't understand something right away, and I'm angry, and I'm like, okay, so I recently, I think some of the people in this club have also heard a gentleman that has often talked to us about just reminding us that as light workers, he wanted to give us permission to be angry sometimes, and that it's okay, and that you shouldn't feel guilty about it. But I was just wondering, have you experienced those times where you were just like, I hear what you're saying to me, but this really pisses me off, quite frankly, and then like, how do you kind of resolve that?
Well, two come to mind. One was during a time that you read about in the book, when I received that vision to move to Vermont, and so I uprooted everything and left my family and everything and moved to Vermont. And then we got there, and then our business, we were just doing no business and no money was coming in. And it was just like, it was getting down to the scary part, right? Where you're like, oh, hey, great. So I'm all alone and I have no money. And I was talking to Shaman Mary, who we read about in the book. I called her up and said, hey, what's the deal? And she said, sometimes they forget. As you said, they're not in a body. They don't need money. They haven't needed money for a very long time, and so they forget about it. And so this is like you need to go down there and tell them what's up, right? Because I had the secret garden at my spot down there, so that I had built on the land. So I went down and just told them, and no one said. I just said, look, if I'm going to do this work for you, like my whole life purpose work, then I need support, and that means financially, that means money in the bank. And I did just like and they responded, which is wonderful. And then the most recently was when this book came out, and I went on tour, and I was doing all these great events and watching people have life transformation like in front of my eyes at every event, and people being healed and people's loved ones coming and speaking to them and I'm just like, oh, I'm in it, like living my purpose and doing what I'm here on the earth to do. And then boom, the COVID thing happened and they shut everything down. And so I was pretty not happy with that. Like, oh, okay, so I'm doing what, like, that's it, like I waited 23 years for 9 months, like really. And so I went through this whole mourning period, all the steps of mourning the loss, and then ultimately came to a place of peace, and then said, okay, so if not that for now, then what? If not that, what am I here to do during this time? And then that's when I downloaded the whole idea for a book series that I'm doing called Navigating the Clickety-Clack, How to Live a Peace-Filled Life in a Seemingly Toxic World. And so I started that book project, and I'm working on the second one right now. We already came out with one, and it's getting together groups of people who are the ones who stay peaceful when everything seems to be going to hell around them, right? They are the ones able to stay peaceful, and to see what tools they would offer people who are experiencing the clickety-clack right now, which is when you're, pedaling a bicycle and you have that space in between the gears and it hasn't caught yet. It goes clickety-clack, but you keep pedaling because you have faith that it's going to catch, right? So you have faith, you keep moving forward, and then eventually it catches and you're into a whole new gear. So it's like that's a bridge. And then and now we're in Florida, and so on the 17th of January, Sunday, I'm gonna get to go to a spiritual center that's open. Oh, yay! And give the talk, do the music, and then the workshop after. So I get to step back in. Yay!
Yay! Well, thank you,
Yeah.
and thank you for this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And my husband had a traumatic brain injury, and so I've been down some of those roads, although my journey was definitely different. But I do have to say that at one point during that time, I was so desperate that I just gave it all over to whatever, and that was when I truly did find the first peace since the accident had happened, when I just did that. And that was pretty early on, but I actually got told to watch for miracles when we went into a different hospital, and I did see several while I was there. So
yeah, surrender is a beautiful place. Beautiful place to be. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Where is that spiritual center you're going to in Florida?
It is in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
St. Petersburg Temple of the Living God is the name of the church. Yeah.
I have a quick question. Sometimes when I'm talking to my angels, I hear answers in my head, but it sounds like me. But it's things that I would not normally say. So is that the angels speaking, would you say, to me?
Yeah, they'll just show up in any way that you would be able to accept it, right? And so that's why I say, some people go, well, how come I don't hear a voice? And they're frustrated. And it's like, maybe if you actually heard a voice, you'd think you were going crazy, or it would take you a while to acclimate. So they just show up in ways that you'd be able to accept it. And sometimes that's baby steps. You ask a question, you go out, turn on the radio, and the words of the next song are the answer to your question. Or sometimes one of your friends will come up to you and say, I don't know why I'm saying this, and then they'll just say something that was a direct answer and response, and they're like baffled. I don't know why I'm supposed to tell you this. And and then sometimes it'll show up as your voice, and that's the way that you were able to receive it at that time. And then when you say, oh, okay, and start acknowledging, okay, I get it. Thank you, angels, for the support. Start putting words on it. And by the way, if you want to use your voice anytime, I'm completely open to that. And once you give them that permission, because we have free will, right? So they're not supposed to bother you unless you specifically ask for it, other than love you unconditionally and keep you walking here on the earth until you're supposed to leave it. Anything other than that, we got to ask for it and give them the permission, and then they can start showing up in ways that you'll know that it's them, but also not stretching too far. Like I like to just say to people, if you've never seen an angel, and then when people like pray and then all of a sudden 3 angels show up, like those are so rare because of that, right? It would just it would scare a lot of people. They would think, oh my God, maybe it's like think that it was something dark, even though it wasn't, just because of their upbringing in the church. It's like however you would be able to handle it, and then they kind of do a little bit more and a little bit more as you go in your journey, start revealing in an even grander way till you could work your way up to that.
Thank you.
You got it. All right. Any other questions?
Do you have a certain angel you feel a very strong affinity with?
Well, of course, my angel, Mark, I talk to all the time, but I also have, as far as archangels, Raphael and Michael and Gabriel, which is interesting because most people say Gabriel, right? and this is kind of a point as well. Angels don't have a sex because they're in the spirit realm, but again, they would show up to us in a way that we would be able to accept them. So when I was praying to Gabriel the first time, I heard it's Gabriel, and I said, "Oh, really? It says Gabriel in the Bible, and this is a guy, right? Well, we don't have sex, and it's Gabriel." And I go, "Okay." So when in my angel cards, people notice like, "Hey, Gabriel is a woman," right? And I say, "Well, I was," and this is what was my answer to that was I was raised by women, right? My mom, my sister, my grandmother. All the major milestones, everything was grandma, just all women all the time, right? And didn't really have a man around, and so and I've always been able to relate to women even more than my guy friends. So it just made sense to me. Of course, it would be Gabrielle. Of course it would. But those are the three that I call in for general connection, general support, general next steps. I have those. That's my three, and then archangels are all known for something specific. So, like, if I wanted to help somebody who's moving from this realm to the next, and aiding that, then I would call in Azrael because that's Azrael's gift, right? To aid and help people cross over. So I would call in the specific archangel for that particular job. But those are my three.
I'm glad you refer to him as Gabriel because I do.
Yeah.
I think I'm mispronouncing it when I say Gabriel, everyone. Just curiosity. Do you have any Hispanic blood in you?
Very little, but as far as the DNA test goes, but yeah, I think so. And my mom said,
I don't know why I had that strong feeling that maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, my whole family does genealogy, and I have it going back to far back. But that's what was reported. My mom said, "Don't be surprised if you have a lot of things in you." And she started pointing to certain relatives that was like, "We're not sure what happened over there," And I go, "Okay, I get it. All right, things happen. Not everybody always shared or reported to the genealogy people, so could be."
That's true.
Well, I just want to say that Aunt Mary Lou is watching us. She's having trouble connecting, so she can't get on. But we want to say to Mary Lou that we love you so much and wish you were here with us.
Really nice.
I'm just curious. I did finish the book, and we had talked a couple of weeks ago when you were with us about the question at the end of the book. Yeah. And I know I love that process that you have us go through of taking the deep breaths in and then just asking of the angels to guide and to show us our purpose. I'm just curious with anybody else if you did this exercise and what happened.
I'm not there yet, but hopefully today I'll be.
For me, it wasn't, anything terribly like, huge revelation. You're going to go and stop what you're doing right now. And bam, it was more of a reminder to be peaceful within myself and really with that saying of be the change you want to see and to really go out and show that and be that. And that was really, what I've gotten so far. I mean, I know it changes all the time, and that I can go back there and ask later, get an update.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and you could do that process every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Not just at once, but every morning, every time you need the answer to a question, you can ask again. Just to remind you, I am open.
And that was definitely something I took from your book is, I guess I really wasn't asking such direct, and, I hadn't made it a habit, certainly. I can think of times that I did, but it was usually in times of, quite frankly, desperation.
Yeah.
So, and now it's like, oh, well, maybe I should just ask periodically just for, just for the heck of it, do a check-in.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my mentors, John D. Martini, he always says that the universe responds to us based on the quality of our questions. And even the first time he said that, I was like, oh, yes. Okay. So really be aware of what I'm asking, how I'm asking it, so that it is clear. So many people walk around saying, why did this happen to me? And the universe goes, yeah, why is it happening to you? And then keeps giving you reasons to ask why over and over again. And, how, like, questions you want to ask usually start with how or what. How can I be more loving? What can I do to manifest this? Or how should I be? How, what? Those kind of questions. Nothing kind of open-ended, but just so clear in the question that if the answer came, you would go, oh, there it is. There's the answer to that question. And if you're checking in daily, and just going through that process will remind you to look for the answers, right? And what I love to teach people in all of the events, probably the thing I did, because every event's different. The one thing I do remember teaching at every event was sit, ask, and listen. And I'd like to say there's so many of us sitting and so many of us asking, but when do we listen until we receive the answer to the one question before we move on to the next question? I'm an entrepreneur, so I had, shiny object syndrome. I'd be like on one task and then something shiny, and I go over there, right? But when it comes to asking questions, the angels, spirit, God, universe, Jesus, I ask, and then I focus on that one question, spin it like a mantra everywhere I go, or sit in the silence if I have the time blocked off until I get the answer to the one question I have. And because I'm constantly focused on that question, meaning saying it as a mantra, even out in the world, doing my daily tasks, still asking, still spinning, because I'm looking for the answer, then it doesn't whiz by and I miss it. Which has that ever happened to you? It just probably the answer came 5 times before you finally go, oh, there it is. I wonder how many times I missed it along the way because I forgot to stay in that question. So listen be the most important part of that very simple process. It seems simple, but isn't always simple to remember to stay in that question.
Yeah. I call that squirreling.
Yes, me too, Terry.
You're walking down that path, you know your way, and then all of a sudden there's that little squirrel, and it's like, oh, look.
Or the ooh, shiny. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. The secret is to stay present, isn't it? To be in what you're doing with each moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the thought that each day we can do this process to just sit with that time with the angels. Every day when I get up, I show gratitude, and my verbiage has always been, help me make a difference today. Show me how I can make a difference today. But I love now phrasing it into a what can I do today?
Right.
And wait for their answer to show me that guidance. So thank you for that. Thank you for helping me to rephrase. I've spent a lot of time recently with Dr. Ruth Anderson, who is the founder of Enlightened World Network. And she's helped me a lot too, just by example with how she does it. And she always checks in, always. I mean, throughout the day, that woman is always communicating with her angels. And she's always asking the very pointed questions to get the specific answer that they're giving to her. So that's helped me a lot too, to understand, to make it specific so that when you get the answer, you know they're answering what you asked, and not like this, you might have asked 10 questions in one question and left it open. But when you ask for that very direct response, you get it. And that's what I'm finding.
Right. And if you're not like physically hearing the voice, you won't hear them going, what's the question? Like, I'm confused about the question. They just go, okay, and they're like muddled and they're not clear on what you're asking. So then your message that you receive back is like, well, the angels gave me a muddled, unanswered, confused question, reply. It's like, okay.
Or they just say yes, and you're not sure which question they're saying yes to.
Yeah. Exactly. So the very you talked about the question that also that I left people with at the end of the book. So Larry, Mark, guy on bridge, one or separate, right? You make the call. I kind of left you with that. I do have the answer to that question. If anybody wants to know. Which I didn't at the time that I wrote it. When I wrote that, I was like, either way is great. I feel like maybe it was the one, but I would love the answer to that question. And so when I was on my angel tour, I was just about to do the last event. It was like before the last event in January. And I was in this RV that we were touring in. And I had looked for Larry Wright for forever, but there are quite a few Larry Wrights out there. And even when I jumped on Facebook and I was finding people that I hadn't talked to in years, and that the blessing that Facebook is all the people that it's put me in touch with, there's still a million Larry Wrights. So I never could find that one. So I was on tour. It's like late at night, and I get a Facebook message, a friend request, and a message that says, "Hey, this is Larry Wright." And so I type back really quick, like, "The Larry Wright?" And he goes, "Yeah, from Fresno, and blah, 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 and started typing things. And I go, yes. And, hit yes to friend request. And can you get on the phone? And he was like, yeah. And so we got on the phone, and I was, sure enough, like the second I heard his voice, I was just like, oh, yes. Thank you. And he had been trying to contact me since like shortly after I left and went back home from Fresno to Southern California. But back then I was known as Keith Smith, right? So my full name was Keith Leon Smith, and I dropped Smith a long time ago, but he knew me through work, and at work you put your work name, right? And I wasn't an author yet. I wasn't Keith Leon yet, or established as that. So he's looking for Keith Smith, and I'm Keith Leon from pretty much the time I left. And but ultimately he ended up just going, oh, Timar, his son is Timar, Timar. How many of those could there be? And he went and it was onto Facebook and found my son. And then because there was like no other Timar Smith, right? He's still carrying that name. And so he found him, and my son gave him, no, it's Keith Leon. And so he found me, and it was really, really cool, because I was speaking with him, and I was talking to him on the speakerphone. And so my wife Mara was listening, and I would say, "Do you remember when?" And then I would say something, and he'd go, "Yeah, and remember when?" And he started telling stories that were in the book that he had not read, by the way. And he's saying everything like the exact thing that I had written in the book. And Mara was sitting there going, whoa, because she loves me and she wants to believe everything, but I'm sure there was a couple things at least that she thought, did he stretch that maybe a little bit? But it was like everything he said was exactly the way I said it. And then he would say, "And do you remember when?" And then he remembered things that I had not remembered to write in the book. I asked them for what they wanted me, stories they wanted me to share, so I didn't get everything, but whatever I did get came verbatim, like, he said, I said, he said, I said. That's how it came through. But he even reminded me of things that I hadn't remembered until then. he said it, and then I was just like, wow. So it was getting to relive that and a journey down memory lane together. And then he read the book, and he was just like, yes, not only did all of this happen, but this happened and this happened. And he came with more stories that I had forgotten, because that was, there was a lot a lot during that time. And so I retained what I needed to get to my next step, and then I recalled what I needed to share with you for the sake of the book. But I knew there were other pieces in there that I quite frankly had probably not remembered yet, because that's not what they wanted me to put in the book. So now I got them through him, and I was like, oh, so we're still in touch. We spoke just the other day, the other night. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Back in touch with Larry Wright.
That's great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Yeah, he's alive and well. And little Larry, I think I wrote something about little Larry in there. His son is like, I talked to him and he's like 41. I was like, whoa, little Larry's 41. How could it be? How could it be?
Well, Keith, what are the next steps for you? I know you've got some events going on there in Florida, and I was hoping you would do one closer to where Linda and Terry are. They're right there in Wellington, and Stacy is up New Smyrna. So I was hoping some of our Florida peeps might get a chance to see you.
Yeah, we're here for the winter, and that's why we're here, because things are open. So I did reach out to the few folks that you put me in touch with. One said they were looking at some dates, and so I guess keep up on my Facebook page, or just if you think about it in a few weeks, say, hey, anything come up yet, and just connect with me, because that's where I'm stationed and going to be until it gets really, really hot here. Then I'll probably go back to Vermont. But so I'm looking to schedule some more angel events. And meanwhile, as far as books go, we're doing the Clickety Clack second book right now, and so I'm in process of that, and that's always a fun process, because I'm the one interviewing the people, getting their answers, because this project feels as close to me as the angel process. So I'm actually doing the chapter calls myself with the authors, instead of having team members do it, because I just love that connection and helping people bring through a message and then capturing it and put it in their books. So I'm looking to do some more events. Those of you who would love to see me there, do you know somewhere that I could come speak, like even if it was your place? And do you know how many people would show up for that? We're absolutely open, and I love to do the work, and whether there's 12 or 100 people, it doesn't matter to me, because I know that the ones who are supposed to be there will be there, and it's always a great experience.
Awesome. And Isabel is watching, and Isabel lives right there where Linda and Terry are.
There we go. That's 3. There's 3.
That's a good start.
I would travel down and see my friends and go to an event if there's one down that way.
There you go.
Or
Excellent.
That's 4. It's growing.
Excellent. Great.
I have a quick question.
Right.
How do you get past the vulnerability, however you say that word, to write your book? Because I have like similar stories, but I get to a certain point and then I'm thinking, do I really want to put this out there? And
Yeah. Well, I have a home study course that can take you through that whole process, but it's really, for the sake of writing the book, you want to just put it all out, like, because it's really a process for you, and it's like cathartic, and it's like doing an experiential workshop. It really is, writing a book. So if you were at a workshop and you were withholding at certain events, they might call you on that and put you up in front of people and until you spill, right? Well, this is not that. This is a chance for you to just like freeform, let everything out, and get the book to the end of the first draft, and then you go back and you read through one time, and one time only would be my suggestion. And during that reading, you will know, oh, that was for me, not for them, and you can take it out, right? Because, but you needed to go through the process of writing it. And perhaps there was a time while you were writing that a tear hit the page. And the good news is, even if you pull the words out, the essence of what you were writing about will still be in the manuscript, because everything is energy. So even though you pulled the words out, people will get the message that you wanted to by sharing the story, even if the words aren't there, which is interesting. Because I tell people that, and for years I helped people with the Write Your Book course, and people would put their book out and they would say, God, you know that one thing that you said, I thought you were kind of cuckoo about that, but people came up and said, I loved when you shared this, and they shared something that I literally took the words out, but they didn't share the words, they shared what they received from it. You know, they had received the essence of it, but it's not in the book. And I said, yep, everything is energy. So you don't remove the energy, you're just removing the words. So, and in my case, I just had to leave it for me, because I knew that, like for instance, oh, I don't know, I shot up drugs into my veins, right? That's not something I want to share with the world, like at all. And so I was like, really? I'm supposed to leave that? Ugh, like you can't get any more tell all vulnerable than that. And but they were like, yeah, but think of the person who's in the throes of that addiction right now, and then somebody hands them that book, and then they read it. Like, how many lives will you save because they can read, wow, someone went all the way to the bottom, like they went all the way there and then got through to the other side. You know, whose life might you save by keeping that in there? All right. And so there were quite a few things in there that I was just like, really, that's supposed to stay? All right, okay. So it's really just trusting your inner guidance system, your inner knowing, your voice that may sound like yours, but you're like, wow, I don't think I'd make that choice if it was just me. Yeah. Just trusting that, you know, because that voice is always right, even if it's, people call it, you know, first instinct. You know, call it whatever you want. It's still a voice that's just helping you stay on course. And the more you listen to that, the more things really start to come together beautifully, and less and less hurdles to jump over.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You saying that reminded me of a question. When you finally decided that you needed to get off drugs and you had to do it, you didn't talk a lot about the pain and suffering of getting off drugs. Did you not experience that, or you just left it out? Or, you know, because I know from not personal experience, but experience that I've had with other people, that's quite a painful, horrible process. And you know, you had been pretty heavy on drugs. Did I miss it, or because it didn't seem like you had a whole lot about that part of it?
He didn't.
Yeah. Once I decided to like kind of get off the needle, then it was like, oh, well, I'll just do it other ways, you know, and then I was kind of slowly coming off of it a little bit. And then when I got clear, it was time to just stop and go back to home, you know, back to Long Beach. In driving back, I was a little bit of withdrawals, you know, and then the first night we got back, then my friend Jeffrey said, come on over. And I did write about that, where the first thing I did when I got back to where I was supposed to stop, you know, and get clean and do all of that, the first night, you know, I was tempted, and then I did it. And with Robin, and with my girlfriend, and we ended up both staring at the ceiling all night going, oh my God, what have we done? What have we done? And so that was the longest night of my life. And after that, like, I just got this clarity, like, that's not what I'm here to do. And that was it. That was the last time that I ever did that. And so I did experience little, like some physical withdrawal, but I was with family. I was out and about. I was doing things to try to take my mind off of it. So it wasn't as, I feel like if my whole focus would have been get off and I locked myself, sequestered myself to a room, I probably would have spun out and, sweats and rolling over it for days and days and going through that whole process. But in the letting go and the clarity, I think that me chose to spare myself from that heavy of a process. And so it was really just keep myself busy, keep myself moving, drink a lot of water, like do the things that served my soul, and then just get through that process. So it wasn't the physical withdrawal wasn't as tense as I think for most others, which by all rights it should have been, but I had support with that. So it's kind of like I just decided to stop, and I did. And that was really it. I never was ever tempted to do it again. It was just so clear for hours staring at the ceiling. This is not why I came home. This is not what I'm supposed to do. I didn't go through all of that to end up, dying. And I just, what I really got laying at the ceiling is that there was no one time from that point on. That if I ever did it one more time, that I'm a goner. It literally had to be nothing or be willing to lose everything, because I would lose everything. And so when I got that moment of clarity and made the choice, then it was easy. Hasn't been my experience with other things. When my mom passed away, I started drinking, and I had never ever had a problem with that. And but I was trying to deal with the loss of her and the pain of that. And so when I just realized that things were starting to look like they could be an issue for me, then I went and found a meeting and found a support group for that, and stopped at that. So I just, when I get that clarity, like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, it just comes so clear that I'm able to just go, no more, and stop it. But it usually does take something drastic to get me there, unfortunately, even now. But yeah, I stopped drinking many years ago, and for that I did use support and a program that really helped me. And in doing the steps in that program, even brought me closer to God's Spirit and the angels as well. Because I was a person that was in the room and not having any issue with the words higher power, none, and found somebody to support me personally through that, and that person said, hey, wow, you're already a man of God, so imagine what's available to you in these steps, and in doing those steps, man, it's a whole new level. It came through that. And then that program with another name helped me release a whole lot of weight, because I had also got up to, at one point, 310 pounds, 54-inch waist. And I realized I was overeating, and that was another way that I was hiding from truly being vulnerable enough to put myself out there and being vulnerable and sharing everything like I did in this book. And through that program, and again working some steps with the organization, went from 310 to, when I was on my tour, I was 161, 162. That's a whole other person that I released. And it was a big giant monkey on my back, not a person. And it was a 150-pound monkey that I let go of. And so he'd slowly dissolved and went away. And now I'm maintaining about 10 up from that, at 171, 172 for years now. So so it's an ongoing journey of clarity. And then once I get that clarity, then I step in and do the work.
Well, you've been through the gamut.
Yeah. Amen. That's why I love when I speak in front of a room of teens and all their arms are folded and they're looking at me like, what do you know? Who are you to tell me anything after they do the intro, And so I just start and say, okay, so let me start with, this is a piece that speakers do at the beginning, just to share a little bit of their story. Okay, if I share my story with you, and then I share 5-10 minutes at the beginning, you just watch all the arms unfold. They're sitting forward and now listening. And by the end, I say, so if any of you still have that, what do you know about it? Feel free, speak up, tell me what I don't know. Maybe I missed something. It's like no matter what they've been through and or even are going through, it all comes, something that's related to that comes through in my story. And they just are then open to receive. And then the rest of the talk is received with open arms. And then they come up at the end and share their stories, how it touched them. So it's a pretty amazing process, but it's cathartic to have to continually share, because that really is at the beginning of every talk. If you've seen a really great professional speaker, they always start with a piece that we call the earn the right. And that's where you share your story and how you got to where you are today. And ultimately why anybody should listen to you for one more second after that. And earn the right. I love those words because it's really what you're doing. And or what I'm doing, I should say. And so yeah, it's always a powerful piece because I have to share all that stuff at the beginning every time. And I remember asking my dear friend and mentor Jack Canfield, like, man, during your earn the right, there's a part where he just gets teary-eyed every time, and it's the same story for years and years and years. How do you get teary every time? I know you. I know it's not an act. And he said, just because every time that I talk about that, I go there again. Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that because they deserve that. And if I just was saying words, it wouldn't mean as much as if I feel it again and feel the emotion of what it was like to be in it, what it was like to get to the other side. When I feel that emotion, and willing to be vulnerable enough to go there every time I tell that story, then there's healing for me as well as them. And I was like, whew. And that's why he's my teacher. And that's why I'm as vulnerable as I am.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so grateful that you are, Keith. I'm very grateful that you wrote this book. Mary Lou says, thank you, Keith, for writing Walking with My Angels. We only have a few more minutes left. Does anybody else want to share anything with Keith? Any words of gratitude or, whatever you want to say to Keith here at the end? And just so grateful that you came on with us today. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. You know how some people, for me, when you go to church and you think I shouldn't be in church because I'm not good enough to for God to love me or the angels to love me or anything. But reading your book, it made me realize that I am worthy of that. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for writing the book. And, I had so many experiences that are like in parallel with you. It's incredible. So, I'm just like, I had the alcohol thing, and that's how I passed over. My heart blew out on me, and I had the aortic dissection. And they said I could go back, but I couldn't drink no more. So I took the angels up on it,
Yeah.
So I'm here today. So anyway, it's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. I really enjoyed it myself. And that's really, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sharing this book with other people too. Because I really, it was relatable on a lot of levels. And as you can see here, just with our small group, we all had come from different backgrounds and different paths. And yet there was something that each one of us, probably more than one something, that we were able to take with us. And I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing, and thank your angels for guiding you.
You're welcome. And thank you.
I
Yeah,
felt
it's like that book is proof that we're more alike than we are different. Go ahead.
through the whole book, well, more towards the end, I feel like saying thank you for going through all of that for us, because you've helped us so much. So I think it's like Terry says, sometimes you have to experience all that so that you know what you to do with your life, your purpose, and help others. So I do thank you for that, and thank you for your angels to allow you to learn that for us.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you so much. I shared it with my best friend here, Terry, and she loved it as well. And it's like we're all on the same road in different cars, different colors, and we're going to end up at the same place, but at different times and different stops along the way. So thank you. Yours.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. And one of the promises of the book was that, you know, anybody who held it in their hands would be raised to the next level of vibration. It didn't even say read it. So if you would put the book on your coffee table so that everybody comes over and says, what's this book? Even if they pick up the book, flip through it, and then set it back down, they still just received everything that they were supposed to receive from the book. It's almost like that one person that used to sleep on top of a pillow with the book underneath it and then wake up and know everything that was in the book. It's almost like that, yeah, energetically. So, so yeah, gifting it to others, or even just saying, hey, what do you think of this? And sticking it in the hands of someone that you love, you know, even a loved one that you think could use a little enlightenment. And even if you know they wouldn't like the book, if you just said, hey, what do you think of this? Stick it in their hand, and if they flip through it and went, not for me, and threw it on the table, you can rest knowing that they just received everything that they're supposed to receive from the book. Cool, right?
Oh,
that one
so
blew
cool.
my mind.
Yeah,
when they told me that,
cool.
I was like, wow, they don't even have to read it? No. Okay, that's mind-blowing. And that's how I reached the number of people that you said I was going to reach. Now I get it.
Absolutely. And our Marietta, another Floridian, Marietta Stoner, is in the audience and sending infinite love and gratitude. And Marietta, accept, align, allow. She has taught us the AAA, accept, align, allow. And so grateful for all of you that came on in the audience with us today to hear this. One person said that she hasn't finished the book, but she can't wait now to finish it. So pass it on, like you were saying, just pass it on to others and share this message. And let's get Keith's message out there that the angels are always available. They're always with us. They're always helping, and they're always listening. So just reach out and ask them, what can I do today to make a difference? That's what I'll be asking every morning. Keith, thank you so much for taking your time today to come on with us. We so appreciate you. We appreciate walking with my angels. It has been a real joy to read this book and to discuss it together. And you've made it a memorable experience for us as we process the words of your book. So thank you. Thank you, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your holiday and celebrate this new year that's coming in for us all.
Yes, we hope to get to come see you eventually, even those of us that aren't in Florida.
I'll put it all up at my house.
That's right.
I don't want to lose him. He's got to come visit. Or can we find you on Facebook? Or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just look on it. Just Keith Leon. If you typed in Facebook.com/ I think it's Keith Leon and the number 1, Keith Leon 1. That's the easiest way to find it.
Okay. All right, Keith, we have 1 minute. Do you have any last word?
You make a difference. You make a difference on this earth. whether you realize it or not, you're making a difference every day, and people forget to tell you the difference that you're making. So for everybody who ever forgot to tell you that, I'm telling it for them. Thank you for being the gift of you and who you are on this planet, because you truly make a difference, and you've all made a difference in my life today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we have a tradition on my lives that I do on Facebook that we end the show with
Namaste, y'all.
Namaste.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.